nations and the renewable energy sources?
Well, as you know, basically we've been trying to make this transition in the last couple of years, and this is an appreciation of the challenges posed by climate change and the fact that we need to move on to renewable energy sources. But of course, we do appreciate that there are constraints being faced by many countries in trying to ensure a smooth and rapid transition. But I would say also there are lots of opportunities. I think I prefer to look at it that way in terms of the long-term savings, in terms of the sustainability of the development trajectory for these countries. And many countries are really rising up to the challenge and putting a lot of energy, resources and effort in moving towards this, accessing these supplies. And in addition to that, of course, we know that prices have escalated. So this is exacerbating existing vulnerabilities. Many of these countries, including Nigeria, have been facing issues with climate change, drought-induced shortages, and as well as the United Nations, we have a global crisis steering committee of which the Islamic Development Bank is a member, and the idea is to really work in concert, in partnership, to reinforce each other's efforts in providing support to these member countries in a coordinated manner. And the emphasis, of course, should be on strengthening the resilience of the food system in these countries. So paying attention to how we can support agriculture development initiatives in terms of enhancing productivity, in terms of facilitating greater access to market, in terms of improving access to inputs, seeds, etc. And in Nigeria, in many African countries, we have, in some African countries, we have supported them with projects, agricultural rice value chain project that's intervening across the entire sector to strengthen production and marketing of rice to make them less dependent. In Nigeria, we have a number of projects in the agriculture sector. In Kano, for example, we have an agriculture and livestock sector project that's supporting improvement in productivity and access to markets. We also recently processed an agro-processing zone, agro-processing zone project that's really provided jointly with the African Development Bank to about 500 million. I think we're putting in 150 million of US dollars in that, but this is all going to Nigeria to support agriculture activities across the entire value chain. In addition to that, of course, we are working on supporting infrastructure development, agriculture infrastructure to boost productivity. So lots of things happening. But and on the other level, and for many African countries, we are providing support through our trade financing entity, ITFC. We are providing support for food imports, so short-term credit for food imports, fertilizer imports, to mitigate, to provide liquidity for countries to be able to access these agriculture products as well as inputs within a short period of time. But collectively, we are also working with other MDBs and with the UN to ensure that we lobby effectively to remove obstacles to trade, to ensure there is smooth flow of commodities, because what's happening is that some of these countries now are blocking access to their commodities, and even the ban on the sale of, on the purchase of Russian and Ukrainian wheat is causing collateral damage to some of our countries. So we are advocating that we need to, along with WTO, that we need to really have some exemptions to ensure that there is a flow of food to these countries.
Monsieur, vous allez traduire. Certains pays africains font face à l'insécurité et aussi au changement climatique, comme les pays du Sahel. Est-ce que la BID a des instruments dans ce sens pour les aider à s'adapter, aider la population locale surtout à s'adapter?
some African countries are facing insecurity and also the climate change.
Right.
And what the bank is doing now to make sure that support and make sure that local population can survive in this kind of environment.
Well, as I already talked about the efforts we're doing in the agriculture sector, and we are specifically working also on an initiative along with the United Nations. This is led by jointly with the United Nations. We are trying to come up with a Sahel initiative for Africa, essentially to try to see how we can help the countries in the Sahel region to boost production and agriculture production and employment opportunities. This is an initiative being driven by the Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations with the guidance of the Secretary General himself. This is Amina Mohammed, and we have been closely working with her team to identify what could be done. Right now we have recruited a consultant to do an assessment of the situation on ground to identify the kinds of priority areas where we could focus our efforts. And linked to that also, we hope to be able to mobilize resources. And I think that's key, because we as Islamic Development Bank, we appreciate that our resources are insufficient to really address the challenges that are being faced by member countries, and we also leverage those with resources from other partners to be able to support our activities. For example, we have a partnership through the Lives and Livelihoods Funds, which involves Bill Gates, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, several other Arab donors, and with that we've managed to mobilize resources and use that to soften the terms and conditions for lending to our member countries, and in various areas, including particularly in agriculture and social sector.
We want to know, there is just now operations between Nigeria and Morocco, and the bank is involved in funding a project for translocations of natural gas from Nigeria to Morocco. We want more details why the bank involved in this project and how much it can pay for the project.
Well, it's a very strategic project that it's aimed at connecting, having a gas pipeline that goes across from Nigeria to Morocco. But remember, it cuts across, it goes through so many countries. So there will be many potential beneficiaries. But at the moment, it's a design. The project is really, if you like, the support we are providing is to assess the feasibility. It's not for the project per se, but it is to assess the feasibility, to do the technical work, to look at the technical feasibility studies for this important project. And it's a project that is of significant importance for both countries, but we also feel that it will boost regional integration, it will boost growth. It's a win-win situation, but it will also help other countries along the way. So the potential is there, and partly sometimes when you have these kinds of big projects, you need to start first by the feasibility study demonstrating that this is feasible. And we will not, of course, the scale of financing is very huge, and what you do with these kinds of studies is to go out there to the market. And so that here is a very profitable project. We are inviting financing from it. So that's what the project is all about at the moment.
Is this because of the Russian-Ukrainian?
No, this predated that. This in part stemmed from the enhanced efforts on the parts of the two countries, Morocco and Nigeria, to forge partnerships, and particularly the King of Morocco has been very keen to really strengthen links with other African countries and has made it a part of the key axis of the country's policy. And Nigeria is also taking advantage of that because they have similar they have arrangements in various other areas, for example, in the area of fertilizer, support for fertilizer in Nigeria. So providing gas to provide fertilizer support in Nigeria. So this is part of this thing. We as a South institution, Islamic Development Bank, one of our key objectives, strategic objectives really, is to strengthen the links between our member countries to ensure that they are able to help themselves. And so we look for these kinds of projects. We have financed a road project that cuts across Africa. And in addition to the physical infrastructure, we have also, through a reverse linkage program, facilitated the sharing of knowledge, experience, and expertise among our member countries and building of capacity. For example, we have a program that has linked Morocco with several African countries where they're able to share their experience in rural renewable energy and rural electrification. We have projects in that line. We have also other projects in areas that involve Indonesia, for example, supporting agriculture development, livestock development in other countries. So lots of such initiatives going on. We also have an initiative with the Institute Pasteur in Senegal that is aimed at connecting them with laboratories in Africa to help build capacity in laboratory vaccine, in lab assessment. So these are parts of the initiatives that we do to promote South-South cooperation and solidarity among our member countries.
Last question.
Is there the support from Egypt? Is there a new support for Egypt from bank? And what kind is support?
We have, with Egypt, there have been ongoing discussions in relation to the support, and we have actually been discussing some details in terms of an MOU that could be reviewed, but it's still under discussion at the moment. But Egypt is an important strategic partner, and we have both, we have an ongoing portfolio, and we have several other initiatives that are involved in helping mobilize private sector, particularly in the private sector. Particularly, we want to pay emphasis, and here again, I want to emphasize that, and our president has mentioned that in many fora, that we see great potential here in Egypt, even if our lending in terms of directly to the Egyptian government is not as high, or is not envisaged to grow like in other countries. We see tremendous potential for facilitating the activities of the private sector. And it's in that context that we have a special private sector forum. And we have 3 entities that are involved in that. We have the ITFC, the trade financing arm. We have the ICD, which is involved in providing lines of financing. And we have ISEC, which is involved in providing insurance for export and investment to facilitate those. And we see that Egypt has great potential in terms of the role of the private sector. And here we are trying to find a niche for our institution so that we can work with you to really support and facilitate growth in this area.
But we heard last week the Egyptian minister said that the bank increased the credit line from $3 billion to $6 billion in current time. This is, of course, to secure basic commodities like wheat, like vegetable oils, and so on. We heard.
Yeah, this is again ITFC.
Yeah, I know. They are working under
No, I thought you were referring to that. That's again what I told you. Yes, indeed. ITFC has, that's true. In fact, that's part of the response we have to the food crisis situation. We have a huge volume. I made reference to the fact that we're supporting our member countries. Thank you for reminding me of that. Indeed, it's a big initiative. I've forgotten the numbers, but do you know the numbers that you put?
No, I think I did not see that press
Yeah.
release, but it seems to be.
Yeah, but certainly, yes, we have ramped up our support to Egypt to facilitate the import of wheat and other food items. And it's really as part of our support for them to address the crisis, the crisis that's been triggered by the events in Russia, Ukraine. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
And thanks for the questions. We're glad you are here, and we're looking forward to working